Hello my loves, I'm Ellie Frost. Thank you so much for being on my channel where we're talking about the multi-dimensional approach to radically and rapidly healing and transforming during and after narcissistic abuse. I want to talk about the very important question, when is it time for you to cut ties with a narcissist? You know you're in a bad situation when you know inside it's something you've got to do and it's something that you don't feel capable of. From my experience, and I'll tell you from what I did, one, although you don't feel like it's your decision often with narcissists because they may have discarded you, they've never actually closed the door. They will be in the background, lurking often, just in the energy field, in case you get rich, in case you get healthy, in case you get something that they might want to take from them and they run out of supply. They'll never want to shut the door fully. They might want you to chase them and beg for it because that all feeds the trauma bond. Yeah, and this emotional and energetic pull they have, which isn't based on anything genuine, just biological trauma response, energetic pull and enmeshment that isn't actually based on your genuine feelings. Although it is love to a large extent, you do love them on a large extent, it's generated from unhealthy situations that actually put you into that state, right? Against, honestly, your free will, because against your free will, because often you're being tricked and manipulated, and against your free will because it's not your authentic emotions. Even the high or what you can feel sexually with a narcissist is enhanced because of this chemical stuff going on. A lot of the time they're not good lovers because they're not intuitive lovers, they're selfish lovers or they're manipulative lovers. They're not truly present, but that's another story. If you're having great sex with a narcissist, try have non-trauma bonded sex. Being good intimately with a partner isn't just about technique, and again, narcissists will try that often. I think, like that, you know, they think it's a technical issue. You're not a computer. Intimacy, sexuality is actually, I don't know why I'm getting onto this, but we'll get onto it. Probably one of the reasons why some of us are staying, right, is actually the best passion we're going to have is when we're connected with, and this is what the narcissist can't do, right? So it's a false high, it's a false connection, and on every level, spiritually, emotionally, energetically, sexually, all of it. It's all false, right? They're false, and they're trying to make you false. So the time is when you decide. It's not when you're ready. You'll never be ready, because it will always be an emotional journey to process. It's not when it's not hard financially, because they purposely get you into sticky situations. It's not when you're not afraid, because they do things. I've had people, many of my clients, they've had physical threats against them. I had intimidating threats against me physically. I had people saying to me they were going to destroy everything in my life. Yeah, everything. People in power, scary. People who had power, in positions of power, they always abuse their power. So when they're narcissists, so it's not when you're not afraid or you don't feel that they could try and sabotage your life, your business, your health, your job. They're going to go for all those things. That all exists. It's not when you're in the best health. I was devastatingly ill. My body was degenerating. I had a doctor screaming at me that I was going to die, and I didn't want to do his program. I felt like this was a self-healing thing I had to do personally in my instance. And I just didn't feel aligned. I didn't have the money for his program, nor did I feel aligned with it. But I mean, I was screamed at, and literally his approach was to scream at me and say this is suicide because I wasn't going to go through with his suggestion. I couldn't afford his suggestion. And actually, honestly, if it wasn't a money thing, even just that, I wouldn't have done it because I knew there was something deeper to heal in me. I brought my body back. So the time to leave is not going to be circumstantial. It's going to be sticky, it's going to be tricky, it's going to be facing some of those fears. When you're energetically strong, you can manifest beyond them. The hardest thing with the narcissist, all the narcissists I've met would constantly try and interfere with my work, constantly need all my attention. They would take me off my purpose. I'm a good manifester when I'm regulated, but anyone in nervous system dysregulation, it's very hard for you to manifest, especially when there's a lot of trauma going on. So they keep you distracted and traumatized for a number of reasons. And one of them is you can create beyond your circumstances. Yeah, but it does take faith and it does take emotional regulation and energetic strength. But it does start with a decision. This is going to sound really, really strange, but honestly, I know it to be true. Because when I decided to change my life, right, I had, hardly any money for groceries, if that. I started scraping that money to put into personal development courses that had nothing to do with narcissism because I couldn't find anyone to help me with what I had wrong with me. But I was determined to improve myself, and I lived in that trailer, I said this before, I lived in the trailer for an extra 2 years when I could have actually gone somewhere else because I wanted to invest in my growth. I needed to invest in my growth at such a level. And when I say growth, what I meant was learning. A lot of stuff I downloaded in Channel, other personal development things, emotional intelligence, personal responsibility, masculine, feminine energy, things that helped me as a person. Understand communication, intimacy, relationships, other things, anything that felt aligned. Now, you've got to know what to invest in because a lot of people have invested in things that haven't helped them. And if you're investing from your trauma, which is desperation, I need to fix a problem, you're probably not going to make a balanced choice, right? Which is what a lot of people do. You can't throw money at healing. Yeah, you've got to, but when you decide that your life matters, that this is going to be not your story ends, you're going to actually take personal responsibility for your healing, not what happened to you. It's not your fault to take responsibility for what they did to you. It's not. But the only person that can actually heal our own lives is ourselves, and it changes when we decide. We decide we matter, I decide I'm going to sort this out, and I'm deciding my time is now. Now what? Now what? I'm going to have to face the reasons I haven't been in my power around money, around attachment, around codependency, around being on my own, around my own survival, around my own ability to self-source, right? I'm going to have to face my fears of what they might do to me and the consequences. If you break the chains, you break the chains. So you have to become, it's a new way of being involved. That's why Sovereign is so good. If you can get into Sovereign for May, get in. It's a way of being, I teach you, a way of self-focus, self-partnering, self-sourcing. Yeah, and the next stage of that, after you've done those processes, is self-invested, which means it's not about money investment. Well, everything in life is money, time and energy, wherever you're putting those resources, but it's about, I'm invested in my legacy. What legacy do I want to leave on the planet? That's where you go to after you've completed yourself. Like, I'm self-focused, I'm self-partnered, I'm self-sourcing, right? I'm manifesting for myself, my beautiful life, and for the collective. Then you'll want to be like, what's my legacy on the planet? You know, what do I want to create for others? But like, the thing is, right, we say, we stay and pacify ourselves because we say, I can cope with it. I've got high pain tolerance now. It can't get any worse. And generally with the narcissist, it always gets worse because the cycle relies on them to keep shocking you, you see. So we think it can't get any worse than it does. We think we can take it, but actually it depletes us. It goes one way. So now it becomes like your life is like important. So how much time are you going to give to it? When I left the last narcissist, some of the things I faced, it looked so hopeless, were things like homelessness, like serious survival. It was such a big deal. It was such a big deal. I'm not joking about this. There was nowhere for me to turn. Like, it was fucking horrible. It's the scariest thing you can ever do. I was okay, but I was sick, very traumatized, and like, oh my God, like, was I faced with survival and having to understand faith. I learned the spiritual lessons that I teach at a whole new level. Because when God said move, I moved. I understood that faith means not just sitting there putting up an SOS. Faith is not an SOS, rescue me. Faith is, I'm going to trust that I get to, like, my desire is meant for me. I'm meant for more than this. My life is not meant to go this way. And when you give me the signal, I'm going to move. God said move, I moved. When God said leave, I left. When God said invest here, I invested there. When God said do this, I'm like, how am I going to do it sustainably? I can do this for 1 night, 2 nights, hotels, whatever. God said move. I'm like too ill to work full time. I can't even do what I'm supposed to do. How can I even show up in my business like this? I'm wrecked. Move, 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 move. You're stronger than you think. I didn't think I was strong enough. No way. I thought I was not strong enough for what I did. But I did. And I know for a lot of you, you will not be in the same situation I was in. Now, did I have years of personal development behind me? Yes. I had spiritual gifts. Yes. I had certain assets. But trust me, I was in some of the most difficult situations that a human being can be in. The scariest ones, right? This was like not even a practice run. This was big. So you are probably really scared, some of you. Some of you are not. Some of you are just comfortable in discomfort, honestly, and just scared of the future. And that you can only decide what's right for you. There's nothing wrong with you if you're not ready yet. But it's much better to say, I'm not ready yet, than to torture yourself. And there were times at the end of that relationship, my last relationship, where I just said to myself the truth. I love the truth. You know what I'm like? I'm loving the truth. It does set us free. I knew I needed to leave. And I knew I wasn't ready yet. But instead of bullshitting myself and going, it's because I haven't got the money, I already knew that. It's because it's going to be financially difficult. It's because he's going to attack me. It's because he's going to da-da-da-da-da. I already knew those things. But the biggest reason was I wasn't ready yet. Then I had to look at, why aren't you ready yet? You want to hang on. Why? Because you're scared. I was scared. Okay, well, that's more true. Because any one of those circumstances was mine to change, but waiting for the circumstances to change before I left didn't work. When I tried to build money there, he tore it down or put me in more compromising positions. And then he was tearing me down the more money I made. The more money I started making, the more he tore me down. The worse it got for my emotional health. I started getting sick, really sick. So we try and wait for the... I'm not saying leave. Do your best to have a good strategy, to pace it out, but do your best in your power, not in the old pattern of why you've stayed. Yeah? Because whatever you do next, you've got to do from a new place. From a place that my life gets to be what I want it to be. I'm now my own boss. I do not work for this narcissist. I'm dissolving the enmeshment and the attachment, and I'm going to be a source to self, which means my needs don't get met by this thing. That was hard for me when I just taken on loads of extra financial responsibilities for us that he wasn't about to honour, and that would have been an easy thing because I needed that money. There's no doubt at the time. Saying to him, I don't want anything from you, right? No idea how my life was going to work, knowing I was heading in for I'd have to go through a crash. There was no other way, right? I didn't have the resources to make this easy. I'm still paying off some of those debts. Right? To this day. Okay. I'm not in a rush. They're fine. I can manage them and I can keep building my life. You know, again, we talk to just pay off our debts and live like that. Don't live like that. Build your fucking future, manage your debts, and then when you've got an abundance of money and overflow of money, you can clear everything when you want to. But don't hold your growth up, your life up. You know, invest in your future. This is the time to invest in your future when you are most afraid, because otherwise all you're doing is putting your life on hold another day. And that's not to beat you up. This is just to get it really clear that it's only when you decide my time is now. It's only when you decide I am not available for this, no matter fucking what. That was the energy I had. No matter what. Okay, there's going to be an avalanche. Bring it on. So be it. Okay, you're not going to know how to deal with this. Bring it on. So be it. I would have died in that situation anyway. You know, my soul was dying. My heart was dying. My life was dying anyway. It was if I'd have stayed there, I'd have said to the universe, the only way I can survive on this planet is to be attached to unhealthy people who abuse me. And I had to say, I have to be a source to self. There is no way that can be my life. I will not be attached to unhealthy people in order to survive. So now I'm going to have to fly, right? And it kind of was like that. And I can teach that. The last part of Solving This Manifestation, I'll keep teaching it, but this is the energy I got in. Yeah, my life had to become important to me at a time when it wasn't like life was confirming to me my life was important. It was an internal decision that I matter now. I matter now, no matter how weak I am, no matter how broke I am, no matter what I've been through, no matter how hard it's been, no matter how difficult the future is. I matter now. I matter so much that I'm going to face whatever comes my way and figure it out as I go. And I trust God. I had to really, really understand spirituality at a whole new level, because faith does not exist unless you move. When God says move, you move. When God says, faith is only when it looks impossible and it doesn't look like it's going to work, and you're going to have to trust in something bigger than yourself. Now, the more you understand manifestation and energetics and can get yourself strong, the better. And build your spirituality, build your relationship with yourself, so that when things look like they're going to wobble, which in life they're always going to do, no matter how successful you are. I work with a lot of different types of people. I've worked with a lot of companies over the years, and that everyone has problems at different levels at different times. There's still real problems. Yeah? So everyone goes through ups and downs. We think because of our circumstances it's always harder for us, but everyone is dealing with, new level, new devil, right? Not literally like narcissists, not necessarily a new narcissist at every level, but there's always something that you won't have understood about what it means to be rich, for example. People want wealth, but they don't understand that being wealthy comes with a lot of responsibility to hold that much money and pay your staff and to make sure it's not just your mortgage, it's theirs as well. It's the people you work for you sometimes. If you've got a company, there's so many more things that people misunderstand because they just think if I had that, everything would be fine. If I was healthy, it would all be easy. If I just had money, it would all be easy. Well, I had to do it and decide when I didn't have the money come in first, I didn't have the health come in, I didn't have any convenience come in. That would all be circumstantial power. I had to find my personal power, my sovereignty, and move. Because me and that energy makes money. Me and that energy, even sick, heals. Me and that energy starts... Did I crash and have terribly devastating days? Yeah. Terrible time. Some of it was hopeless. And, you know, when things get slapped in your face or when something comes... I mean, my car almost got written off during this and almost got totaled. You can imagine how I felt. My neighbour smashed into my car and told you that this is the worst time in the world. I'm late on my payments, I'm struggling, I'm trying to rebuild my life. There were lots of things that happened that were not convenient at my worst. And it still was who I chose to become in the process. I loved my neighbour, I wasn't angry with her. But like, you know, and I was being bullied by a narcissist that I was staying with. I mean, it was just another shit show. It was shit show after shit show after shit show after shit show. God was just showing me until I rose uncircumstantially. Now, you might not need to rise through things that hard, or you might be able to. I mean, you might be. They're brutal, narcissistic abuse cycles. They're brutal when you try and leave. They're brutal when you try and take your power back. It could be court cases, could be custody cases. I've worked with people on all these things. But there is a quality of energy that I can put you in where you'll understand that you get to create your own life. You start proving God rather than proving that people can abuse power in a new way. You start proving God in your life. You start walking differently. I started praying differently. I started saying different prayers. Help me know you. Instead of just saying, help me, show me how powerful I am. Show me how I can take people through this. Show me, make me useful in this. I don't understand why I'm going through this so badly. Show me what this is about. Show me how I can use it. I stopped saying, rescue me, rescue me, rescue me, rescue me, because that seriously wasn't God's plan at the time. And like, I had to trust in him. Trusting in God is like, I trust in a higher plan, but I'm not passive in it. I'm active in it. Now what? And then when I got intuition, some of the intuitions I did not want to do. Even my first YouTube stuff, like I wasn't exactly thrilled when I started getting messages that, okay, now you're going to be teaching people about this. I'm like, this is the worst thing of my life. Do I really want to start making this part of my career and letting people know what I've been through that have worked with me in other contexts? It's the most fulfilling thing I'll ever do. But it wasn't like, oh, yes, I've been through hell. Let me just share that hell with the world, right? I didn't know that I could be healed enough to emotionally reconnect and be absolutely fine and not re-traumatized. I didn't know my own power or where God was leading me or what I would do with this, right? But I do know that I only got through it by following something bigger than me. And I'm only going to get through this next part by being obedient, right, this time around. So that alignment will save your life. And that's what you want, to be connected to God, to be connected spiritually, much more than you want to be connected to a narcissist, right? So you have much more power than you know. But the decision's not in their hands. Waiting for them to stop hoovering, waiting for them to stop following the same script that they do. They're a narcissist. They're going to be predictable. What are you going to do now? Yeah? If you want to join Sovereign, get in for May. Lots of love, guys. I'll speak to you soon.